Hello fellow outdoorsmen, and welcome to our kitchen. Did a little bit of squirrel hunting recently and got a couple of nice show me state fox squirrels. They were females, and I thought I'd go ahead and wrestle up a pot of stew here for lunch. My intent is to make myself enough for a couple days worth of lunches. I've got some potatoes over here. Of course, my squirrel. Give you a better shot of those babies here in a minute. Black pepper, salt, some tomato sauce, bouillon cubes. I'm gonna grab some baby carrots out of the fridge. I don't have a ton of ingredients that you might normally see in, say, a Brunswick style stew. But like I say, this is going to be kind of a condensed version for lunching purposes. So let's go ahead and get after it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some water in this Dutch oven style pot so that I can add the squirrels to it and get them to soak in a salt solution. Now I'm thinking a quarter cup of salt would probably be sufficient here. Salt is not an expensive ingredient, but the idea here is to get rid of some of that gamey taste. Although I've eaten squirrel, just fried it straight up and didn't have any issues one way or the other. Some people may not necessarily like the wild meat taste, so I'd imagine this salt kind of helps reduce that a little bit. Here's the two squirrels. Pretty nice ones, really. That's a good chunk of meat. And just look at that right there. In Missouri, we have I live in west central Missouri, and we have a lot of fox squirrels. We have a combination, but I see quite a few fox squirrels. And if you want to see me clobber these two show me state bushy tails here, I have another video. I'll throw the name of the video up there on the screen for you so you can check out the hunt. Go ahead and get these cut up here and ready to go. I hunt them with the 22, but those hollow point rimfire bullets can do some damage at times. You know, I said earlier that the salt solution is supposed to get rid of the gamey taste. Well, that may be true. But I really think too that it kind of helps tenderize the meat, because squirrel meat it's sweet, but at times I've noticed that depending on the squirrel, it can be relatively tough meat. So putting it in its stew helps tenderize it. When I've had them before and just fried them straight up in a pan, they're not just like chicken. They're actually tougher. So I'm going to go ahead and add these pieces in here to the salt solution in the pot. And we're going to let that soak. And set the old timer for an hour here. And then we'll come back and take them out. We'll pour out the water and get on with the rest of it. Something I might throw in here regarding the salt solution. Just a thought, but it seemed like it worked for us when we were kids. I grew up on acreage, and my dad got me involved in taking the frogs from the pond and catching them in various ways that we did it. Sometimes we'd sneak up behind them with a nip spinner on the end of a rod and reel, sneak it over the top of their head, and they'd say it's a bug, you know. They'd reach up and grab it, and we'd have them hooked. And other ways he said he did when he was growing up, shined the flashlight in their eyes at night, reached in and grabbed them. All various different ways that you know, it's done in different states over the years. But the one that I remember doing was that first one that I referenced with the nip spinner. And when we get the frogs, we skin them with the pair of pliers. We take the legs off, just like you saw me do the hind legs on the squirrel there. Although those cuts weren't the best, I didn't have my deer hunting processing knives up here in the kitchen with me. I've got something else. It's not the greatest knife. But we would immediately put them in a salt solution, and after we nipped off the flippers there at the end and the legs at the pelvic area, and that would put each pair, all the pairs of the frog legs, into a salt solution. And he'd let it sit there overnight, is what he would do. But you know, I've seen recipes call for, when we're doing this with the squirrels, that an hour is sufficient, and that may have something to do with the amount of salt that you use. I'm not sure, but I'm no cook. I'm just a hunter, and I know what works for me. So just thought I'd share that little tidbit of info from my youth with you, because a lot of you guys may be able to relate to that. Yeah, we got about 30 minutes left on the soaking, so we'll go ahead and jump into cutting up the potatoes here. I like to use a little scrubber here under the water to scrub my potatoes real good, and I do like to leave the skins on them. And I mark it food, so I know that I'm actually using it on a food product, because I've got another one that I use to clean things with. But you know, you can cut these to however size you want them. I kind of like them a little kind of chunked up. It's kind of a preference deal. You can do them however you want them. I figure in a stew, you know, things are kind of usually better if they're a little chunky. And you'll see here in a minute on the meat, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it to a boil. And then I'm going to end up deboning it, shredding it. Some people like to take that meat and just throw the parts in, probably, which is, you know, maybe a typical way you might do it if you're in a hunting camp. Probably more along the lines of the old Brunswick stew of the early patriots in our country, which is where I believe that recipe came from. And speaking of patriots, you just never know. You know, may end up using that recipe out there in the woods again someday for similar reasons that they did when they utilized it. Now I've got a bag of baby carrots here. I'm just probably going to end up cutting those in half so they're not quite so chunky. Maybe eat one while I'm at it. I like carrots. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and grab the squirrels here in the pot and put it over here on the stove, get it to boiling. That way I can debone the meat for our stew. Gonna keep checking it here. The intent is when it gets right here, I'm gonna pull them out and debone it. Alright, let's go ahead and pull them out. Should be good enough for deboning because we're gonna end up cooking the meat some more when we run it in with the rest of the ingredients of the stew. Now I'm going to go ahead and dump the water out, get fresh water here, do my stew. Get rid of the, I guess, brine is what they call it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and debone the meat. Depending on how picky you want to be, there is quite a bit of meat in between the bones of the rib cage and whatnot. But, you know, and some of that you can just take your fingernail and kind of fingers and peel that out of there. But, you know, like I say, it all depends on how picky you want to get with it. Like on these hindquarters, I may not even need the knife, really, for the most part. I'll be able to just tear most of it out of there. But if you feel so inclined, you can always grab yourself a nice sharp fillet knife and just follow the bone right on down and get most of it off that way. And then once you got a good start on it, then you can finish it off by tearing the pieces out. So just like you would if you were like eating a mess of quail that you'd flushed out of a thicket. Alright, here's what we ended up with in the meat department. And like I said, a lot of it I was able to pull apart with my fingers. Some of it was helpful by using the knife. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm not going to put it in until I get the remaining ingredients fairly cooked. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of the ingredients in here. Get them in here, and then I'll decide what the water level needs to be. Like I say, I'm not really wanting to run to the store. I'm kind of wanting to just use the ingredients I have around the house. Or tomato sauce there. Give a little kick. And I've already... Now I must have already tossed my beef bouillon cubes in there. Had them sitting right beside them. Must have tossed them in with the carrots and potatoes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add some black pepper. Kind of do this to taste. I like spicy stuff. And then we'll get some water in it. That heat up, and keep an eye on it, and we'll do a little taste test every now and then. Get us some stew going. Just ran down to the family meat locker downstairs where we keep a lot of our veggies and stuff too. It's where I keep a lot of the deer meat that I get during the Show Me State bow hunting and firearm season. And lo and behold, we have some corn and some broccoli, which I think are some stew-worthy items. So I'm probably going to add a half a bag of each to the mix here. I don't know, guys. This is kind of turning out to be more of a possibility for dinner here. My daughter gets home, and my son there shortly about that time will have to put the old taste test there to them to see if they think Mom's going to like it. If not, maybe I'll just need to keep it for lunch. I'm going to add that corn there. And then trying to fill about a half a bag of broccoli here. That ought to do the trick. Things are starting to come together here. And I'll tell you what, I think I may just go ahead and add that meat into the mix, because it may end up picking up some of the flavors of everything else that's in there, and hence the name stew. One more big fat squirrel would have been nice, but this is quite a little bit of meat here. Hopefully there's not too much hair in the mess. Doesn't really bother me any though. My family's kind of gotten used to it too. It's not really a big deal. Go ahead and get that mixed in and get that to simmer in here. Well guys, that's pretty much all there is to it. You know, you can follow somebody's recipe or you can get creative and use your own. I don't think there's anything you can or can't put in a stew pot. So experiment with it. Enjoy it. We're going to see how the family likes this, and I appreciate you watching. Not too long ago we turned over 1,000 subscribers. I've really been enjoying the getting to know everybody online and the brotherhood of hunters and fishermen and outdoorsmen that are here on YouTube. So until next time guys, happy hunting and fishing to you. I'll see you.